everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Create Collaborative Relationships to Procure Innovation in the Supply Chain. Thank you much for joining us today. I'm glad to have with us Katie McGuire and Lorna Peacock of CO2 Sense and Stone of Wakefield District Housing. Before we actually begin with the presentation, a few technical instructions for the webinar. If you have any problems with the technology or audio, please use the chat box on the right-hand side to send a message. Select from the drop-down menu, send a message, and then I'll get back to you. We're to ask questions throughout the presentation, and we'll do a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. To type your question, go to the Q&A box on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, question, and press send. Finally, if you'd like to connect through your phone, use the chat box to contact me for the details. Now, out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our speakers.
I'm Katie McGuire from CO2 Sense. I am Principal Consultant heading up the Resource Efficiency Division at CO2 Sense. I'd like to introduce my colleague Lorna Peacock, if you'd like to say a few words.
Hi, I'm Lorna Peacock and I'm the Sustainable Procurement Expert at CO2 Sense. I've worked on sustainable procurement for the last 5 years and I've delivered some projects in the areas that I'm going to be talking to you about today. This is Stone.
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm Sustainability Manager at Wakefield District Housing and I'm here because we're a signatory to the procurement compacts that Biz and the Prince's Trust have set up.
Together in the same room and we're going to talk to you today about innovation through procurement. We have chosen to talk about this as engaging with supply chains is a challenge for businesses and we'll discuss some of the innovative solutions to drive improvement and build effective relationships. We find that businesses and organisations have huge potential to unlock innovation by articulating your solution-based need. This will help unlock private sector investment and drive environmental innovative solutions. So without further ado, just to give you an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. First of all, we'll do a little introduction on why innovation and how this links with procurement. We'll also talk you through how to procure innovation and how to develop collaborative supply chains. We'll take a few case studies and examples of where this has been successful. And as I mentioned at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session where you'll be able to ask us some questions and we'll hopefully be able to answer them for you. Briefly, just to give you a really brief introduction to who CO2 Sense are, we are a community interest company where we help businesses prosper in a low carbon economy. We're a not-for-profit organisation and ultimately our vision is to develop a world where businesses manage their carbon as carefully as cash. A number of unique selling points, as I mentioned, in the fact we're impartial, we're not for profit, but we also offer advice and investment to businesses. In terms of the services that we provide, we help both the supply and the demand side of the industry. So we help the supply side through helping to grow and develop low carbon businesses. We also help the demand side of the industry by helping an organisation to achieve income, cost and carbon savings. We also invest and we have a large portfolio of investments at the moment around £12 million. And we also provide strategic low carbon research and innovation and partnering with key organisations. So I'd like to now hand over to my colleague Lorna Peacock, who's going to start off talking through innovation through procurement.
Great, Katie. Why innovation? Well, it's a challenging time for your business and your organisation. Not only do we have economic pressures, but there are environmental pressures which ultimately do affect the bottom line. Your screen, there are a number of challenges and reasons I've listed. So we've got economic pressures, resource scarcity, increasing costs of energy, climate change impact, efficiency and resource savings. There's changing demographics, and this is all happening at a rapid pace, and there's a wide extent of change. Now, these are some of the challenges and reasons that you can use procurement to drive innovative solutions. Innovation is one of the key responses to get ahead of these challenges, and I suppose we need to respond and adapt our businesses to meet them and prosper in a low-carbon economy. Innovation is a catalyst for growth. Hidden benefits innovation can bring to your business and can drive this growth. So it gives you a competitive advantage, added value, it can increase the market share, it can actually open up your business, your organisation to new markets, and also it can enhance your reputation. Procurement, like any other aspect of the business, it needs to add value, and procurement can be a key driver for innovation. So buying sustainably and by having sustainable supply chains, you can actually reap the benefits. You need to use procurement and innovation through procurement to drive your business. So innovation, I just want to touch on this whilst in the presentation. It's actually a process of translating technology and knowledge into usable products and services. Jack Frost, who was the chair of the Environmental Innovation Advisory Group, which was a private sector driven group set up to drive environmental markets, said that we already have the technology we need, we just actually need to articulate the requirements to create new products and services that we can buy. So I suppose the key message here is that we need to articulate our unmet need so the market can respond, and so we can use procurement as a key driver for innovation. So you'll see in the presentation, unmet need, that's a key message to the market that I'm going to be talking to you about today. But there's a catch. For procurement-driven innovation, there is a key barrier which is known, you'll be able to see on your screen, it's the buyer-supplier paradox. Now this is a catch-22 situation which actually hampers commercialisation of low-carbon technologies. So I'll just talk you through it. So good services for the buyer aren't available, and they aren't available, or if they are available, they're too expensive. But if they're not available, customers, buyers, don't actually ask for them. But because there's no demand for them, businesses that want to innovate and develop these products don't actually have, I suppose, backing or grounds to invest in these new products. So I'll talk some examples later in the slides, but basically it is a chicken and egg situation. And what we need to do is overcome the paradox and move forward. And I'll talk to you about how we actually do that. So coming to the paradox, over the last number of years there have been a number of programmes, initiatives set up to break this paradox and overcome it, and they've been developed to support innovation through procurement and develop low carbon technologies and markets. So the first one is the Small Business Research Initiative, which has been developed by BID, and this is focusing around research and development. So it's working with big businesses and helping, I suppose, pulling together smaller businesses, the supply chain, who can really develop innovation, develop new products and services to meet their challenge. But it's really focused on R&D. The next one is Forward Commitment Procurement. This is about, it was developed by the Environmental Innovation Advisory Group to overcome the supplier-buyer paradox and develop environmental technologies. And I'm going to talk to you about commitment procurement in more detail in my next slide. The initiative is Down to Zero, which again is focused on, is around full commitment procurement. But this was an initiative that Ben's going to talk to you about, which was pulled together by the Prince of Wales Leaders Group and the BID Innovation Procurement Board. And in simple terms, it's an open invitation from the public and private sector to suppliers, asking them to develop new products and services to help them in the low carbon economy. There are three examples of mechanisms that have been developed to break the paradox. Procurement, it does what it says on the tin, so it's about buyers making a commitment to buy a product if it's developed. I'll just talk you through the slides now. It's about the buyer, the first area, it's about the buyer actually showing the market that they have an unmet need. They need a solution to their problem. So showing that if you develop this product or this solution within this timescale, this cost, we will buy it. This then leads on to showing the market and giving confidence to the supply chain that there's an intention to buy it. It gives them confidence to actually respond to this unmet need. And the final stage is actually about the procurement. So if the supply chain respond and develop the solution, will buy the product at the end of it. So procurement is a process, and it creates the market conditions to develop new technologies. But as I said, it does give the confidence to the supply chain to respond to those needs. Buyers can actually make a commitment to buy products and services and give the suppliers confidence and innovate and respond to your needs. In simple terms, I just want to show you this diagram. It shows you, I think, Forward Commitment Procurement. And if we start with the buyer, they put the Forward Commitment Procurement out, and the buyer or the suppliers actually then respond to it, and the buyer meets it. Parties benefit. Commitment procurement in a step-by-step approach. First of all, it's about the identification, and often this can be the hardest point for the buyer. So it's a new way of looking at procurement. You're not just saying, I want this product or this service which is already on the market. You have to really look at the business and identify your problem, and you need to identify a need that you've got that isn't being met at the moment. So really looking at opportunities within the business. Once done that, you then define an outcome-based requirement. So, as I said, it's not just about taking the product and service that you know are there, it's got to be an outcome-based requirement. You have a business case, and then, important any new project, I think it's about getting the internal buy-in. So making sure that you can actually go through the whole process, that you can engage with the supply chain and the market, and you can give them confidence that you'll buy a product at the end of it. But you need internal buy-in to do that. The next step is the market engagement, and that's why we're here today. It's about talking to your supply chain about innovation, engaging your supply chain in innovation, and actually discussing them and articulating your need and building a relationship with them so they can respond to your needs. It's about market sounding. This can through desktop research, so understanding, what can actually be achieved to solve your problem at the moment in the market, and doing analysis and really getting a feel for, how far can you push the boundaries. The next stage is actually about speaking to your supply chain, going through a market consultation, and this can be done through a series of workshops where you actually get all the suppliers, might be suppliers from different sectors that you might not have spoken to before, all to a room and to present what your problem is and to discuss what you're actually wanting from the market, what you're wanting from your supply chain. So you're actually speaking to them and you're building a relationship, and I suppose at the same time you're developing and giving them confidence to respond to your need. The page is around the procurement. Now, it is where you take the information that you've gathered, you take the market consultation information, and you develop your procurement strategy. So you take the feedback from the supply chain and the stakeholders, and you feed that into your procurement strategy, and then you follow the procurement process. So it's these stages 1 and 2 that feed into the procurement process. The research is about finding the engagement with the supply chain is different as part of full commitment procurement. Now, just try an interactive exercise here now. Might be a little bit different seeing as we are remote, but can everyone just take your hands and put them about 10 inches apart? Put them together and clasp your hands, and you know which thumb is on top of your other thumb. Now, apart again. Put together and change the thumb that is on the top. Now, how does that feel? For most people, it feels uncomfortable, and change is uncomfortable. So doing things differently does feel uncomfortable at first, but as you do it more and more, it gets easier and easier, and I suppose, it does become comfortable again. So the more you do it, the easier it gets. And I'm talking to you about some case studies today, and Ben Stone will be talking about case studies as well, and you'll be interested to know that people who've been through the full commitment procurement process, they've not just done it once, I suppose they've got the bug and they do it again and again, so it does get easier. So let's talk about where full commitment procurement has actually been done. So this case study is on Her Majesty's Prison Service, and through the procurement process, I showed you they needed to identify their problem. And their problem was that they were sending thousands and thousands and thousands of mattresses and pillows to landfill every year. Basically, they had to replace them a lot, but it was costing them a fortune, not just on buying in the mattresses and pillows, but also the landfill costs. So it was costing them a fortune. So their problem was that they needed to find an alternative to this. They needed a solution for this problem. So they used the Forward Commitment Procurement process to stimulate the market, and their met need was a zero waste to landfill mattress, which at the time didn't exist. They went through the process, they identified their problem, they did the market engagement, so looked at what was happening, they consulted with the market, discussed with them, what the opportunities could be, really gave a clear outline of what their unmet need was, and they did get a solution. Now, I think the key point to make here is they identified their problem, and they provided their unmet need, but they didn't want their unmet need to cost any more than their current product or supply. So let's talk about the outcomes of this process. Well, they get their zero waste landfill mattress, they got their solution, and it wasn't just a product that they actually got a whole service solution. Basically, a supplier developed a product that was zero waste, and it had a innovative cover which was easy to clean, which meant it reached the turnover as well. So not only did they have to send those of less of them, they didn't have to use any. Now, it was a service that they actually bought. No mattresses or pillows went to landfill, and the supplier actually took the products away at the end of life and recycled them and made them into a new product. It actually saved the prison service £5 million over the life of the contract, and it's interesting to say that the contract was awarded to an existing supplier. So by talking to the market, by talking to the suppliers, their supply chain were able to really understand the needs and requirements, and were able to have confidence to respond to it and provide their clients with the product and the service they actually need. So I think the key point here is by talking to the market and suppliers, you can develop the solution you need. I ask, why wasn't this available in the first place? I think the simple answer to that is, it wasn't asked for it. The prison service didn't ask for this solution. So that then highlights it's the catch-22 situation. There was demand, so it wasn't developed. And that's how full commitment procurement works. Sometimes uncomfortable, it is strange, but the process can actually deliver amazing results, as you can see from this case study. It uses the procurement process to drive innovation, which can actually save you money and produce better outcomes and reduce environmental impact. I'm now over to Ben Stone, who's going to tell you about his experiences of full procurement through the Zero programme. Yeah. Thanks very much.
Hi everybody. Okay, so WDH is a housing association based in Wakefield, and we have around 32,000 households and have a van fleet of around 350. I'll come to the van fleet in a bit, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but we signed up in around May of last year to the BIS and the Corporate Leaders Group Down to Zero compacts. And that it to address the catch-22 or the chicken and egg situation that Lorna was talking about earlier. So we're a group of buyers and people along the supply chain as well, suppliers, and we're getting together to say we buy a lot of products, this low carbon that meet current specification that we buy, and if you can bring a product to market that does that, then we'll buy it. So there's three strands to the three opportunities to get involved in at the moment, and they really mirror the big carbon impacts across the UK. So they're looking at low to zero carbon transport, which really are trying to get vans below 50% of the current carbon impacts that they have. Zero catering, which is looking right across the supply chain from much of the food and growing food all the way to table, and then look at the end of that. And also looking at renewable biomethane, so being able to pump biomethane from processes like anaerobic digestion into the national grid and replacing the natural gas to some extent that we use. We've two of those, biomethane and the low carbon transport, and I just thought I'd talk you briefly through our experiences so far for the transport element of that. We're excited because our vans emit about a third of our carbon. So they make up about a third of our carbon footprint, about 1,300 tonnes a year. And about years ago, we went through a process of replacing the existing van fleet, and we managed to cut about 15% of the vehicles out. So we went down from around 440 to about 370. That was really good for us. It showed a big saving, but it also managed to reduce the carbon emissions from all those vans. And we've managed to keep a flat line since we replaced vehicles in 2010 on fuel. Our fuel costs haven't risen, which is great considering the price per litre and how it's gone up. But we've already taken the low-hanging fruit. And what we want from the compact is to be able to get into bed with other organisations, so people that are signed up like Sky, like BT, like EDF, like the Government Procurement Service and Birmingham City Council, and to be able to say to the supply chain, if you get a solution, then buy it. And the solution for us is that we don't want to just sell a van. We want to look, like Lorna was saying, the outcome-based specifications and the outcome we want is to get our employees, their tools and their equipment to our tenants as quickly, as cheaply, and as with low carbon impact as possible. So it could be vans that we buy as a replacement, but it would be another transport solution that gets them there. It could be that they're in vans. And we want to talk to the supply chain and articulate that demand and say, okay, we'll bring forward a solution that meets all those needs. And really, we can down the route of doing forward commitment procurement, but because in the scheme of things, we're actually quite a small fry. We only have 300 vehicles. Between EDF, Sky and BT, there's another 50,000 vehicles on the road across the UK. So, once we get into bed with them, that increases the demand substantially. And so far through the procurement compacts, really we've been looking at the market sounding and the market consultation. So we've been doing a lot of talking to suppliers and to each other. And the key things that have come out really are that we do want based specification, but if we're going to buy a vehicle, it needs to have the same range that we've got now. It needs to have the same capacity in terms of weight. So we know vehicles take recharge. We know that the batteries weigh a lot. That can impact on the amount of material we can carry and potentially push us over the 3.5 tonne limit, so that our drivers can't drive those vehicles. We're interested in local service infrastructure as well, so we want to keep the servicing of those vehicles in our district, and there's all sorts of issues that we're bringing out, and we're basically trying to get a lot of data together to give to the supply chain and say, this is where we are, what you can do for us. And the key for us going forward is that we're going to be replacing our fleet in 2014, so we're starting our procurement process in January of next year, and that will right through 2013 up until about April 2014. So it's really time to get involved with these compacts, and we don't think we're going to eliminate all of our carbon impacts straight away, but what we would like to be able to do is at least cut out another 15% of those carbon impacts so that we can show that we're moving in the right direction. And by the time we get through our next 4-year cycle, we might be in a position where we can get rid of the carbon impacts altogether. But we want to start talking to the sector now and say, this is the direction of travel we're going in and the rest of the sector's going in. What can you do for us? And the final thing on it really, I think, is that looking for organisations to get involved across any of those compacts. So if anybody is buying food, wants to buy biomethane instead of natural gas, or is looking at low carbon fleet, then more than welcome to get involved. You can either get in contact with me, or I've put Sue Crease's contact details on the bottom of the slide there, who's from Biz and who's managing the project.
Great, back to Katie now. Thank you everybody so much for listening. I hope you found it informative and interesting. We hope that it's inspired you to look at your procurement processes differently and has challenged you and given you the idea to think outside of the traditional procurement routes that you might ordinarily be following. This is an area that we have extensive expertise in, and we're finding that it's an area of interest to businesses. We're talking more and more to businesses at the moment about this area. So we've put a couple of areas there where we feel we can help you further if you're interested. We can provide expert guidance on how to develop sustainable and innovative procurement strategies. We can help you through the FCP process as well and help you follow that process that Lorna described. But we can also help you engage with the supply chain and find innovative ways to engage with the market as well. So put Lorna's details on there if you'd like to get in touch, if you're interested, want to discuss further with us and see how we can help you. And we've also put our Twitter account there as well, so please follow us on Twitter as well. Always interesting stuff on there. I think now it leaves us up to say we've got the Q&A session next. Really what we'd like to say is if there's anything interested you or excited you, or if you're doing it already, please send us your comments or your inputs and suggestions and questions. That will be really, really helpful. We recognise that this is a new area and might need external support, so please come and speak to us if you do need help going forward. So thanks again, and I'm going to pass you back over to Vanessa now for the question time.
Thank you very much, guys, for that. So yes, just as it's been said, we're now going to go into our Q&A session. So to all our attendees out there, you can submit a question by typing into the Q&A box on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. So let's go ahead and get forward with it. So our first question, how do you reach out to the market, i.e. what communication tools did you use to send out the message that you were looking for innovative solutions? So any of our panelists out there?
I'm kind of thinking that's probably aimed at me, but to be honest, what we compact, it's different in that Biz and the corporate leaders group really have done that for us. So we're in quite a privileged position that we've got together with all these other large organisations. We've passed on our contacts in the sector to Biz and the consultant that's leading the project, but they've written a lot of the work for us and talked to the suppliers, and they bring it back to all the signatories. So we're in a privileged position in this case that we've already got it done for us, so I haven't been involved, to be honest.
But in the other projects, there are a number of Forward Commitment Procurement projects, and I think how you communicate actually depends on the project, the sector in, how you're actually working with the market already. But some organisations, what they've done is actually putting out a prior information notice to actually advertise to the market that, looking for a solution. This opportunity will be coming up, advertising it through OJU and actually getting the market to respond. So it's creating a dialogue between the buyer and the supply chain already. And those organisations and businesses that respond to that then included in market consultation sessions. So that could be a market consultation event where you actually get the supply chain, the market into the same room, have a series of presentations, and then hold a workshop where you actually get the supply chain and businesses to feed in to what develops. So what can you achieve? What are the barriers? Where are the opportunities? And we actually think out of the box to try and find a solution to your unmet need.
Thank you for that. So now on to our next question. Can you tell me how the supply side makes its potential services known to the procurement managers in these circumstances? I think it's touching upon the same thing there.
So how the supply side
makes its potential services known to procurement managers in these circumstances.
Again, I think it's down to the individual organisation. I think business and organisations do hold meet the buyer session, so it would be looking out for that opportunity. It would be sending the information. Often they have procurement email addresses that you can make them aware. There might be just giving them a call, find out who the category managers are, who the buyers you need to speak to, setting a meeting, attending events, networking. Ben, I don't know if you want to, from your business point of view.
From the fleet side, really, we've worked through this, but on that we've got a fleet manager called Rick Young, and he manages all the interest. So he's very knowledgeable about all the vehicles that are out in the market, and he knows a lot of contacts within the sector and a lot of suppliers, a lot of lease franchise companies that lease vehicles. So I've used him quite a lot, to be honest, and tried to use his expert knowledge, and he's pointed me in the right direction in terms of when we've been looking at these sort of issues.
Okay, thank you for that. First question, do you have any more examples where the process has worked or has been used before?
another couple of studies. One is with Rotherham NHS Foundation Trust, where they wanted I suppose what they're looking for through the Forward Commitment Procurement process was around lighting, energy efficiency in their lighting. So they actually went through the Forward Commitment Procurement process, and again, they got a solution. It was a whole service solution about installing, replacing lighting over, I think it's a period of time, the whole contract of the lighting within the hospital. So that wasn't just about it being energy efficient lighting. It had to really sort of push boundaries. It had to be the ultra efficient lighting, but it also had to meet the patient's needs. So it had to be a pleasant and healing environment for patients, but also for the clinical team to be able to perform what they needed to do as part of their job. But they went through that process. That was the first project they did. They got a solution for ultra efficient lighting. As part of that, the lighting will be replaced with the latest technology, and as I said, they've been through the full commitment procurement process. They've got the bug, and at the moment they've just put a prior engagement notice out, a pin out about mattresses. So I suppose it's similar theme to the prison service, but I suppose it's more complicated from a health point of view. So it's got to take the health aspect into consideration, but also I suppose having their need to replace and the patient experience as well. So they're just another couple of case studies around that.
Just in terms of the impact so far as well, the procurement compacts helped a little bit in that I think that the dialogue between the buyers and the suppliers through that compact already has helped to get some understandings between the two sides. So a lot of vans are probably ignored in terms of electric vehicles and those sort of things, and a little bit is misconceptions, and that's why van buyers don't buy them, in that they will assume that we have a lot of those around our areas and that we always take our vehicles back to depot. In reality, our vehicles never go back to depot, they go home with our employees. So charging structure is very difficult. They're all assuming that we can put a charger in one point in our district and go there every day with our drivers, and that just doesn't happen. So helping us to tell the suppliers exactly what we actually want. So it might not be having impacts right now, but in the future we're looking to address those issues and make sure that we get something that is going to work for us. And it's the same with government as well, in terms of the incentives that are around at the moment. £5,000 to buy a van. Well, if it's £8,000 instead of £30,000 for a diesel vehicle, £5,000 doesn't go very far. So it's talking to them about having the right incentives for charging infrastructure for vehicles and looking at whole life costing through those as well. So it's route for us to influence suppliers and government.
Thank you for that. I'm going to go over a few more questions and then we'll close for the day. How long does FCP typically take?
I think I'll go to Ben in a minute, and he did mention how long he's giving to the Down to Zero project that he's involved in. But I think for commitment procurement, it can take a while, and I think it's about looking at your procurement and looking at what contracts are coming up and full planning. Actually giving yourself enough time and space to be able to develop innovative solutions. So Ben, I think, mentioned that they've allocated a year, 18 months to this process, and in the other projects, the mattress project, I would say again, it was a year, 18 months, even longer, and also the Rotherham Foundation Trust, again, they gave themselves plenty of time to actually go through the, I suppose, identification of the problem, doing the market engagement, and then developing your procurement strategy. Yeah. So I would say about full commitment procurement, it is about forward planning, looking at opportunities that are coming up in the future, and I suppose giving yourself space to develop these innovative solutions with your supply chain. Definitely.
So, as Laura said earlier, it's, I think, about finding the unmet need and making sure that when you do forward commitment procurement, you focus on something that is business critical and that you do see an opportunity to make an improvement on. So we're not running a forward commitment procurement project for our tea bags around the office because we spend next to nothing on it and we're not going to get a big improvement there. But we'll do it for something like vehicles where we spend a lot of money on it and it's got a huge carbon impact to our business. So we see it as strategically very important to get it right and to get an improvement there. And we're willing to spend more time in getting through it. So yeah, we need to be all vehicles in January 2014 in order to get the first ones delivered in April 2014. So we've got 12 months to go through the whole process of talking to people, doing some understanding what we can get, and then actually going through the procurement process and finding a supplier.
Okay, so I'm going to go with a final question for today. So how do you convince your board or CEO to get started? How did Wakefield actually begin the process itself?
We've got a commitment to be carbon neutral as a business by 2060, so that goes a long way in encouraging people to get involved, and their understanding across the business, I mean, that we can save money with our fleet. A bit like Rick replaced the fleet last time, and he made huge savings by getting rid of older vehicles and lower mileage vehicles, and made big savings in terms of carbon and in terms of the cost of running the fleet. So everybody knows that there's an opportunity to be had there. It's a big impact, and it was making the business case to say we think we can get another 15% if we do it the right way. And so to be honest, it wasn't that hard to sell for me internally, but I know it can be.
I think it is important with full commitment procurement. You do get internal buy-in, as I mentioned in the presentation. So I think if somebody's wanting to look at doing this themselves, it would be about putting a business case together, so identifying your unmet needs, the opportunity, looking at the costs of it currently and where there are potential savings in the future, and I suppose using existing case studies to really educate people internally and the chief executive to show them what the potential is and what's been achieved elsewhere.
Okay, thank you for the response to that. So I think that's going to go ahead and close us up for the day. So with that out of the way, I'd like to thank all of our attendees for participating today, for your questions, comments, ideas, etc. A very big thanks to Katie, Lorna, and Ben for the great presentation. It was really informative, and I'm really glad to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So for all of our attendees, the recording and relevant info will be posted shortly on the supply chain group on the 2 Degrees site. So many thanks again to everyone, and have a wonderful day.